Transgender woman humiliated in job interview, then becomes the hiring manager. How will this story escalate? To find out, watch the video to the end. But first, please subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to get more stories like this. Alex Parker stared at her reflection in the mirror, adjusting the collar of her blazer and smoothing down her hair. Today was an important day, another job interview, another chance to prove herself. She had been through this routine countless times over the past few months, but each rejection chipped away at her confidence. Still, she refused to give up. The past year had been a roller coaster for Alex. After coming out as transgender, she had faced more challenges than she could have imagined. Friends and family had been supportive, but the professional world wasn't as understanding. Despite her impressive qualifications, a master's degree in business administration and years of experience in project management, she struggled to get past the initial stages of job applications. When she did land interviews, the atmosphere often shifted the moment she walked in, her gender identity becoming the unspoken elephant in the room. But today felt different. The company she was interviewing with, ClearVista Solutions, was a growing tech firm known for its progressive policies, or so Alex had read online. She hoped this would be the place where she could finally restart her career and contribute meaningfully. Positive thoughts, Alex muttered to herself, grabbing her portfolio and heading out the door. The ClearVista Solutions office was sleek and modern, with glass walls and minimalist furniture. Alex arrived 10 minutes early, her heart pounding as she approached the reception desk. "Hi, I'm Alex Parker. I have an interview with Mark Thompson at 10 a.m., she said, her voice steady despite her nerves. The receptionist, a young woman with a friendly smile, nodded and gestured toward a seating area. "Please have a seat. Mark will be with you shortly." Alex thanked her and sat down, glancing around the room. Other candidates were waiting, each dressed in business attire and clutching resumes or portfolios. She felt a pang of doubt. Was she as qualified as they were? Would her identity overshadow her skills once again? Before she could dwell on her thoughts, a tall man with sharp features and a no-nonsense demeanor entered the room. "Alex Parker?" he called out. Alex stood, smoothing her blazer. "That's me." Mark extended a hand, his grip firm but impersonal. "Follow me." The interview began with the usual pleasantries. Mark asked about Alex's background, her education, and her experience in project management. Alex answered confidently, showcasing her achievements and the value she could bring to the company. But as the interview progressed, Mark's tone shifted. His questions became pointed, almost accusatory, and Alex felt the air grow colder. "You've had a bit of a gap in your employment history," Mark said, raising an eyebrow. "Care to explain?" Alex hesitated, knowing this question was inevitable. "I took some time off to focus on personal matters," she said carefully. "But during that time, I also completed additional certifications and stayed up to date on industry trends." Mark leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing. "Personal matters, huh? Does that include your transition?" The words hung in the air, sharp and cutting. Alex's stomach dropped. She had hoped her gender identity wouldn't come up, but here it was, front and center, framed as a problem. "I don't see how that's relevant to my qualifications," Alex replied, keeping her voice steady despite the knot forming in her throat. Mark smirked. "It's relevant if it affects how you'll fit in here. We're a fast-paced environment, and we need people who can handle pressure." Alex clenched her fists under the table, fighting back tears. She had faced subtle discrimination before, but this was blatant and demeaning. She wanted to walk out, but a part of her refused to give him the satisfaction. "I assure you, I thrive under pressure," she said firmly. "My track record speaks for itself." Mark shrugged, clearly uninterested in her response. "We'll be in touch," he said, standing abruptly and extending a hand to signal the end of the interview. Alex shook his hand, her mind reeling as she left the room. By the time she reached the lobby, her composure cracked, and she hurried outside, her breath hitching as she fought back tears. The humiliation was overwhelming, but beneath it burned a flicker of resolve. This wasn't the end. She wouldn't let it be. Alex sat in her car outside the ClearVista Solutions office, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The sting of the interview lingered, Mark's smirk etched into her mind. Her chest felt heavy, and tears threatened to spill over, but she refused to let them fall. She wouldn't give him, or anyone like him, the satisfaction of breaking her spirit. As she drove home, Alex replayed the encounter in her mind, dissecting every moment. She had known discrimination was a possibility, but she hadn't expected it to be so blatant, so cutting. Mark's words weren't just about her qualifications, they were about her identity, her very existence. The thought made her stomach churn, but it also ignited a spark of defiance. By the time Alex reached her apartment, the tears had dried, replaced by a simmering determination. She placed her portfolio on the kitchen table and sat down, her hands trembling. She needed to process what had happened, but she also needed a plan. This wasn't the first time she had faced prejudice, and it wouldn't be the last, but she refused to let it define her. The next day, Alex reached out to her friend Maya, a fellow member of the local LGBTQ+ support group. Maya had been a source of strength and wisdom throughout Alex's transition, always ready with a kind word or practical advice. "I had the worst interview yesterday," Alex said, her voice heavy with frustration. "The guy was so condescending. He practically dismissed me the moment he realized I'm trans." Maya listened intently, her expression sympathetic but firm. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that," she said. "But you know what? This isn't about him. It's about you. You're talented, qualified, and deserving of respect. Don't let one person's ignorance take that away from you." Alex nodded, her chest tightening. "I know you're right, but it's hard. I just want to be seen for who I am and what I can do, not reduced to a label." "And you will be," Maya said. "But you've got to keep pushing. Have you thought about looking into companies that actively support diversity and inclusion? There are places out there that would be lucky to have you." The idea stuck with Alex. She spent the next few days researching companies with strong commitments to diversity, scouring job boards and company websites. She also began reaching out to her network, letting friends and former colleagues know she was looking for opportunities. It wasn't easy, but the act of taking control gave her a sense of purpose. Meanwhile, Alex began attending workshops and networking events focused on professional development for LGBTQ+ individuals. At one such event, she met David, a recruiter who worked for a well-known marketing firm. David was warm and approachable, and he seemed genuinely interested in helping Alex find the right fit. "You've got an impressive background," David said, scanning her resume. "I think you'd be a great candidate for a project management role we're hiring for. And just so you know, our company takes diversity seriously. We're committed to creating an inclusive environment." Alex felt a glimmer of hope. "Thank you," she said. "I'd love to learn more about the position." David smiled. "Let's set up a time to chat next week. I'll send you the details." For the first time in months, Alex felt a sense of possibility. She wasn't naive enough to believe the road ahead would be easy, but this opportunity felt different. It felt like a chance to prove herself in an environment where she could thrive. The interview with David's company was a stark contrast to her experience at ClearVista Solutions. The hiring team was welcoming and professional, focusing on Alex's skills and accomplishments rather than her identity. She left the interview feeling confident, and a week later, she received the call she had been waiting for. She got the job. Alex started her new role with a mix of excitement and nervousness. The first few weeks were challenging as she adjusted to the fast-paced environment and got to know her new team. But her hard work and dedication didn't go unnoticed. Her manager praised her ability to handle complex projects with efficiency and creativity, and her colleagues appreciated her collaborative spirit. As Alex settled into her new role, she began to see the difference that a supportive workplace could make. She felt valued and respected, and that confidence spilled over into other areas of her life. She reconnected with her passion for mentorship, volunteering to speak at local events about her experiences as a transgender professional. One evening, after a long day at work, Alex received a message from Maya. "There's an opening on the board of directors for the LGBTQ+ advocacy group," Maya wrote. "I think you'd be perfect for it." Alex hesitated. She had always admired the group's work, but the thought of joining the board felt intimidating. Did she have the time? The experience? The courage? After some reflection, Alex decided to apply. The group's mission, to promote equality and inclusion in workplaces, aligned perfectly with her values, and she knew her perspective could make a difference. The application process was rigorous, but Alex's passion and dedication shone through. A few weeks later, she was invited to join the board, and she accepted with a mix of pride and humility. As Alex's career flourished, so did her advocacy work. She became a vocal advocate for diversity and inclusion, sharing her story at conferences and collaborating with other leaders to create lasting change. Her efforts earned her recognition within her industry, and she was invited to serve on panels and advisory boards for major companies. But Alex never forgot where her journey had begun, or the obstacles she had faced along the way. She knew there were countless others like her, struggling to navigate a world that often felt hostile or indifferent. And she was determined to use her platform to make that world a little kinder, a little more just. One day, Alex received an email that stopped her in her tracks. It was from ClearVista Solutions, the company where she had faced humiliation during her interview. The email, addressed to Alex in her new role as a board member for workplace inclusion, invited her to consult on improving their hiring practices and fostering a more inclusive culture. Alex's first instinct was to decline. The memory of her interview with Mark was still painful, and the thought of returning to the company felt like reopening an old wound. But as she reread the email, another thought crossed her mind. This was an opportunity to create change from within. She decided to accept. Walking into ClearVista Solutions again felt surreal to Alex. The last time she'd been in their office, she had left humiliated and angry, unsure of her future. Now, she returned as a respected professional, not seeking approval but ready to lead change. She carried herself with quiet confidence, her head held high as she entered the sleek, glass-paneled lobby. The receptionist at the desk greeted her warmly. "Welcome to ClearVista Solutions, Ms. Parker. Mark Thompson is expecting you." Hearing his name sent a ripple of unease through Alex, but she squared her shoulders. This wasn't about him, it was about making a difference. She thanked the receptionist and followed her directions to the meeting room. When Alex entered, she saw a group of executives seated around a long table. Mark was among them, though his expression shifted when he recognized her. His confident smirk faltered, replaced by something resembling discomfort. Alex offered a polite smile but didn't dwell on him. Instead, she focused on the other attendees, shaking hands and introducing herself. The meeting began with a presentation by ClearVista's HR director, who outlined the company's goals for improving diversity and inclusion. Alex listened carefully, taking notes and formulating her thoughts. When it was her turn to speak, she addressed the room with clarity and conviction. "Thank you for inviting me to be part of this important discussion," Alex began. "Creating an inclusive workplace isn't just about policies. It's about fostering a culture where everyone feels valued and respected. That starts with accountability and a willingness to listen." She shared insights from her own experiences and examples of best practices from other companies she had worked with. The room was attentive, taking in her words with genuine interest. Even Mark, who had remained quiet throughout the meeting, seemed to be paying attention. After the meeting, Alex stayed behind to chat with some of the executives, answering their questions and offering additional recommendations. As the room cleared out, she noticed Mark lingering near the door. He seemed hesitant, almost as if he wanted to say something but wasn't sure how to start. Finally, he approached her. "Alex," he said, his voice quieter than she remembered. "Can we talk?" Alex's first instinct was to decline, but she saw the uncertainty in his eyes. She nodded, motioning for him to sit at the table. "What's on your mind?" she asked, keeping her tone neutral. Mark hesitated, running a hand through his hair. "I owe you an apology," he said, "for the way I treated you during your interview. It was unprofessional and wrong, and I'm sorry." The words caught Alex off guard. She hadn't expected an apology, least of all from Mark. For a moment, she didn't know how to respond. But then she remembered the journey she had been on, the growth she had experienced, the resilience she had built. "Thank you for saying that," Alex said. "It wasn't easy for me to go through, but it was a turning point. It pushed me to grow and fight for what I believe in." Mark nodded, his expression earnest. "I've been reflecting on that day ever since," he admitted. "Seeing you here now, hearing what you've accomplished, it's clear I was wrong to judge you. I want to do better." Alex studied him carefully. She could sense his sincerity, but she also knew that words were only part of the equation. "Change takes action," she said. "If you're serious about doing better, you need to be part of the solution. That means listening, learning, and challenging your own biases." Mark nodded again, his jaw tightening with determination. "I will," he said. "Thank you for giving me a chance to make things right." Over the following months, Alex worked closely with ClearVista's leadership team to implement new hiring practices and diversity initiatives. She facilitated workshops for managers and employees, focusing on unconscious bias and the importance of creating an inclusive environment. The changes weren't easy, there was resistance from some employees, and progress was slow at times, but Alex remained committed to the mission. Mark, to her surprise, became one of her strongest allies. He attended every workshop, asked thoughtful questions, and openly acknowledged his own missteps. His transformation wasn't immediate, but it was genuine, and Alex found herself cautiously optimistic about his growth. One day, after a particularly successful workshop, Mark approached Alex with a small smile. "I wanted to thank you again," he said, "for giving me the opportunity to learn and grow. You didn't have to, but you did, and it's made a difference." Alex nodded, her expression thoughtful. "People can change if they're willing to," she said. "But it's up to them to do the work. You've taken the first steps, and that's important." Mark extended a hand. "I hope we can keep working together to make this company better." Alex hesitated for a moment before shaking his hand. "So do I," she said. As ClearVista's culture began to shift, word of the company's efforts spread. Other organizations reached out to Alex, asking for her guidance in implementing similar changes. Her work was making an impact, and she felt a deep sense of fulfillment in knowing she was helping to create a more inclusive world. One day, Alex received an email from a young professional who had attended one of her workshops. The message was heartfelt and personal, describing how the workshop had inspired them to embrace their identity and advocate for themselves in the workplace. "You've shown me that it's possible to thrive as my authentic self," the email read. "Thank you for being a role model and a source of hope." Alex felt a lump in her throat as she read the message. She thought about the journey she had taken, the pain, the growth, the triumphs, and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Her story wasn't just her own anymore. It was part of a larger movement, a collective effort to build a world where everyone could belong. As Alex continued her work with ClearVista Solutions and other organizations, her reputation as a thought leader in diversity and inclusion grew. She found herself speaking at conferences, advising executives, and mentoring individuals who, like her, had faced obstacles in their careers because of who they were. Each opportunity reminded her why she had chosen this path, not just to prove something to herself but to pave the way for others. Her workshops at ClearVista had become a cornerstone of the company's transformation. Employees began to embrace the changes, and the culture shifted toward one of inclusion and respect. For Alex, watching these shifts unfold was deeply rewarding. She knew that change didn't happen overnight, but seeing the company take meaningful steps forward filled her with hope. Mark, once a source of pain and frustration, had become an unexpected ally. He often sought Alex's guidance, asking questions and seeking feedback on how he could contribute to the company's evolving culture. While Alex remained cautious, she appreciated his efforts and acknowledged the growth he was showing. One day, during a follow-up meeting with ClearVista's leadership team, Alex was asked to present an update on the company's progress. She stood at the head of the table, her confidence radiating as she spoke. "When I first came to ClearVista, I saw potential," Alex said, her voice steady and clear. "Potential to create a workplace where everyone, regardless of their background or identity, could thrive. Over the past several months, we've taken important steps toward that goal. But there's still work to be done." She outlined the initiatives that had been implemented: bias training, updated hiring practices, mentorship programs, and shared stories of employees who had been positively impacted by the changes. As she spoke, she noticed nods of agreement and support from around the table. Even Mark, seated near the end, looked genuinely invested in what she was saying. When Alex finished, the room erupted into applause. The CEO, a woman named Linda, stood and addressed the group. "Alex, your work has been instrumental in shaping the future of this company," Linda said. "We're grateful for your dedication and vision. I'm excited to see what we can accomplish together moving forward." Alex felt a swell of pride and gratitude. It hadn't been an easy journey, but moments like this reminded her that the challenges were worth it. Outside of work, Alex's personal life was flourishing as well. She had built a strong support network of friends and colleagues who celebrated her successes and offered encouragement during difficult times. Maya, her longtime friend, remained a constant source of wisdom and humor. Over dinner one evening, Maya raised her glass in a toast. "To Alex," she said with a grin, "the woman who turned humiliation into empowerment and made the world a better place in the process." Alex laughed, clinking her glass with Maya's. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said. "You've been my rock through all of this." Maya shrugged, her smile softening. "You didn't need me as much as you think. You've always had the strength to rise above. I just gave you a little nudge." Alex thought about Maya's words later that night. It was true, she had faced countless challenges and emerged stronger because of them. But she also knew that no one could succeed alone. Her journey had been shaped by the support of others, from Maya to the mentors and allies she had met along the way. One morning, Alex received an unexpected phone call. It was from a journalist working on a feature story about workplace diversity and inclusion. The journalist explained that they had heard about Alex's work and wanted to include her in the piece. "We've spoken to several people who've worked with you," the journalist said. "They all describe you as a trailblazer, someone who's not afraid to confront difficult issues and create meaningful change." Alex was flattered but hesitant. She had always preferred to let her work speak for itself. But the journalist assured her that the story would focus on her efforts and the impact she had made. After some thought, Alex agreed. She spent the next few weeks working with the journalist, sharing her experiences and insights. The final article, titled "Building Bridges: How Alex Parker is Redefining Inclusion in the Workplace," was published in a prominent magazine and quickly gained traction online. The article highlighted Alex's journey, from her struggles to find employment after coming out, to her advocacy work, to her role in transforming ClearVista solutions. It included testimonials from colleagues, mentors, and even employees at ClearVista who credited Alex with making their workplace more welcoming. The response was overwhelming. Alex received messages from people across the country, some sharing their own stories of discrimination, others thanking her for being a role model and a source of inspiration. Each message reinforced her belief in the importance of her work. Among the messages was one that stood out. It was from Jamie, a young professional Alex had mentored during one of her workshops. "Alex," the message began, "I just wanted to thank you again for everything you've done for me. Because of your guidance, I found the courage to come out at work and advocate for myself. I was scared at first, but your story gave me hope. Now, I'm part of my company's diversity committee, and we're working to create the kind of environment you taught us about. You've made a difference in my life, and I'll never forget that." Alex felt tears well up as she read Jamie's words. She thought about her own journey, how far she had come, and how much she had learned along the way. Knowing that her story had inspired someone else to find their voice was the ultimate reward. As the months turned into years, Alex's influence continued to grow. She remained a trusted advisor to ClearVista Solutions, which had become a model for other companies seeking to improve their workplace cultures. Mark, who had once been a source of pain, became a staunch advocate for inclusion and often credited Alex with opening his eyes to the importance of empathy and understanding. One day, during a speaking engagement at a national conference, Alex shared a reflection that resonated deeply with the audience. "When I walked into that interview years ago, I never imagined it would lead me here," she said. "I faced humiliation and rejection, but I also found strength and purpose. I learned that our greatest challenges can become our greatest opportunities if we choose to rise above them. And I've seen firsthand how one person's decision to change can create ripples that touch countless lives." The audience erupted into applause, and Alex felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Her journey had been far from easy, but it had brought her to a place of empowerment and impact. She was no longer defined by the obstacles she had faced, she was defined by the choices she had made and the lives she had touched. Months after the article about Alex's work had gone viral, her story continued to inspire people across industries. She was invited to sit on panels, write opinion pieces, and even participate in podcasts focusing on workplace diversity and inclusion. Her reach extended far beyond ClearVista Solutions, but the lessons she learned there remained central to her message. One day, Alex received an email from Linda, the CEO of ClearVista. The subject line read, "A new challenge, we need you." Curious, Alex opened the email and read its contents. "Hi Alex. I hope this email finds you well. I wanted to personally reach out because we're facing an exciting but daunting opportunity. ClearVista has decided to acquire another company, Zenith Systems, but there's a major cultural gap between our organizations. Zenith has struggled with inclusivity and equity, and there's concern that their toxic environment could undermine the progress we've made here at ClearVista. We want you to lead the integration efforts, ensuring that the new, combined company reflects the values of inclusivity and respect that we've worked so hard to build. I know it's a big task, but if anyone can do it, it's you. Let me know if you're willing to take this on. Warm regards, Linda." Alex leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. She had come so far in her journey, but this was on another level. Transforming ClearVista's culture had been challenging enough. Now she was being asked to do the same for an entirely new organization. The stakes were high, but the potential for impact was enormous. After taking a day to reflect, Alex replied to Linda. "I'm in," she wrote. "Let's do this." The task ahead was daunting. Alex began by conducting a thorough assessment of Zenith Systems, meeting with employees at all levels to understand the challenges they faced. What she discovered was disheartening: rampant favoritism, unchecked bias in hiring and promotions, and a pervasive culture of fear that stifled open communication. But Alex also saw potential. Many of the employees she spoke to were eager for change, sharing stories of resilience and hope. They wanted a better workplace. They just didn't know how to create it. Alex crafted a detailed plan for the integration, starting with leadership training and a series of listening sessions to give employees a voice in shaping the new culture. She emphasized transparency, accountability, and the importance of leading by example. "We're not just merging two companies," Alex said during a leadership meeting. "We're building something new, something better. But that won't happen unless we're all committed to the process." The listening sessions were eye-opening. Employees shared stories of discrimination and exclusion, but they also expressed a deep desire for a workplace where they could feel safe and valued. Alex facilitated these discussions with empathy, acknowledging the pain while guiding the group toward solutions. One employee, a software engineer named Priya, stayed after one of the sessions to speak with Alex. "I've worked here for 5 years, Priya said, her voice trembling. "And I've never felt like I belonged. But hearing you talk about change, it gives me hope. Thank you for listening." Alex placed a reassuring hand on Priya's shoulder. "You do belong," she said. "And we're going to make sure this is a place where everyone feels that way." As the integration efforts progressed, Alex encountered resistance from some of Zenith's leadership team. They were hesitant to relinquish control or admit that their practices had been harmful. One executive, in particular, seemed determined to undermine her efforts. "Why fix what isn't broken?" he scoffed during a meeting. "Our methods have worked for years." Alex met his gaze, her expression calm but resolute. "Your methods may have worked for some," she said, "but they've excluded others. If we want this merger to succeed, we need to create a culture that works for everyone." Her words were met with silence, but she could see the wheels turning. Change wasn't easy, but Alex knew that persistence and patience were key. Slowly but surely, the culture at Zenith began to shift. Employees who had once felt silence started to speak up, and new initiatives were launched to address long-standing inequities. Alex worked tirelessly, meeting with teams, hosting workshops, and fostering an environment of trust and collaboration. Her efforts didn't go unnoticed. Linda, the CEO of ClearVista, praised Alex's leadership during a company-wide meeting. Alex has shown us what's possible when we lead with empathy and vision, Linda said. Her work is a testament to the power of resilience and the impact one person can have. The applause that followed was deafening, and Alex felt a mix of pride and humility. She knew there was still work to be done, but moments like this reminded her why she had chosen this path. One evening, as Alex was reviewing reports in her office, she received a knock on the door. It was Mark, who had been observing her work with Zenith closely. "Got a minute?" he asked. "Of course," Alex replied, motioning for him to sit. Mark hesitated before speaking. "I just wanted to say, watching you lead this effort has been incredible. You've accomplished so much, and you've done it with grace and strength. I don't know if I could have done the same in your shoes." Alex smiled, her heart softening. "Thank you, Mark. That means a lot." He shifted in his seat, his expression thoughtful. "You've changed me," he admitted. "I didn't realize how much I had to learn until I met you. And now, seeing the impact you've had, it's made me want to do better, to be better." Alex felt a lump in her throat. "We all have room to grow," she said. "What matters is that we're willing to try." Mark nodded, a hint of a smile playing at his lips. "You've shown me that. And I just want you to know, I'm grateful." The integration of Zenith Systems was declared a success, with significant improvements in employee satisfaction and retention. Alex's work was hailed as a model for other companies facing similar challenges, and she was invited to share her insights at national and international conferences. But for Alex, the greatest reward wasn't the accolades. It was the knowledge that she had made a difference. She had turned her pain into purpose, transforming not just her own life but the lives of countless others. One evening, as Alex reflected on her journey, she received an email from Priya, the software engineer she had met during the listening sessions. "Hi Alex," the email read. "I just wanted to thank you again for everything you've done. For the first time in years, I feel like I belong at work. Your leadership has inspired me to believe in myself and to speak up for what's right. You've made a difference in my life, and I'll never forget it." Alex smiled, her eyes welling with tears. She thought about the long road she had traveled, the challenges, the growth, and the moments of triumph. She knew her journey wasn't over, but she was ready for whatever came next. Here's the sixth and final 1,500-word batch of the story. Months after the successful integration of Zenith Systems, Alex found herself reflecting on the magnitude of what she had achieved. What had started as a single act of humiliation in a job interview had blossomed into a career defined by resilience, leadership, and compassion. Her work had transformed not just companies but individual lives, and she had grown into someone she was immensely proud of. As her reputation continued to grow, Alex received an invitation to deliver the keynote speech at a global conference on workplace inclusivity. The conference would be attended by leaders, activists, and policymakers from around the world, all eager to hear her insights and experiences. The invitation felt like a culmination of everything Alex had worked toward, and she accepted with a mix of excitement and nerves. She wanted her speech to capture not just her journey but also the lessons she had learned along the way, the importance of empathy, the power of resilience, and the ripple effects of creating positive change. On the day of the conference, Alex stood backstage, clutching her notes as she prepared to take the stage. The auditorium was packed, the energy in the room palpable. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of the countless times she had faced challenges and emerged stronger. As she stepped onto the stage, the audience erupted into applause. Alex felt a wave of emotion wash over her but quickly steadied herself. She approached the podium, her voice strong and clear as she began her speech. "Good afternoon," she said, her eyes scanning the crowd. "It's an honor to be here today, surrounded by so many passionate and dedicated individuals. My journey to this moment has been anything but straightforward, and I'd like to share a bit of that journey with you." Alex recounted her story, from the painful job interview that had set her on this path to the transformative work she had done at ClearVista and Zenith Systems. She spoke candidly about the challenges she had faced as a transgender woman, the moments of doubt and fear, and the people who had supported her along the way. "But this isn't just my story," Alex said, her voice filled with conviction. "It's a story about the power of change, about what happens when we choose to see each other with empathy and understanding. Every one of us has the ability to create ripples of change, no matter how small they may seem. And those ripples can grow into waves that transform lives, workplaces, and communities. The audience was silent, hanging on her every word. Alex took a moment to let her message sink in before continuing. "I used to believe that success was about proving myself to others," she said. "But I've come to realize that true success is about lifting others up, creating spaces where everyone can thrive, and using our voices to challenge injustice. It's not about being perfect, it's about being willing to grow, to listen, and to take action." As Alex concluded her speech, the audience rose to their feet, their applause echoing through the auditorium. She felt a surge of pride and gratitude, knowing that her words had resonated with so many. After the conference, Alex was approached by dozens of attendees, each eager to share their own stories and thank her for her work. Among them was a young woman named Sophia, who introduced herself as a newly appointed diversity officer at a small tech company. "Your speech was incredible," Sophia said, her eyes shining. "I've been struggling to make changes at my company, but hearing your story gave me the confidence to keep going. You've inspired me more than I can say." Alex smiled, her heart swelling with emotion. "Thank you, Sophia," she said. "The work you're doing is so important. Don't give up, you're making a difference." Sophia nodded, her expression determined. "I won't. And I hope I can follow in your footsteps someday." "You already are," Alex said warmly. "Keep believing in yourself." As Alex returned to her hotel that evening, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She thought about the countless people she had met along her journey, each of them a reminder of the impact one person could have. Her work was far from finished, but she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the months that followed, Alex continued to expand her advocacy work. She launched a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting workplace inclusivity and providing resources for marginalized professionals. The organization quickly gained traction, partnering with companies and communities around the world to create lasting change. Through it all, Alex remained grounded in the values that had guided her journey: empathy, resilience, and the belief that everyone deserved a chance to thrive. She often thought back to that fateful job interview, the moment that had sparked her transformation. What had once been a source of pain had become the foundation of her purpose. One evening, as Alex reviewed plans for an upcoming project, she received a text message from Mark. The two had stayed in touch, their once fractured dynamic evolving into a genuine friendship. "Just wanted to say thank you," the message read. "For everything. You've made me a better person, and I'll always be grateful." Alex smiled, her chest tightening with emotion. She replied simply, "Thank you, Mark. It's been an honor to see your growth." Years later, Alex stood in the lobby of her nonprofit's headquarters, gazing at the plaque on the wall. It read, "Inspire Change, a vision for inclusion and empowerment." Beneath it was a quote she had chosen, one that encapsulated everything she believed in. "Change begins with a single step. Take that step and the world will follow." As she turned to leave, Alex saw a group of interns gathered near the entrance, their faces alight with excitement. She approached them with a smile, introducing herself and asking about their goals and aspirations. Their passion reminded her of her own journey, and she felt a renewed sense of purpose. "You're the future," she told them, "and I can't wait to see what you'll accomplish." As Alex walked out into the sunlight, she felt a profound sense of peace. Her journey had been long and challenging, but it had also been filled with growth, connection, and meaning. She knew there was still work to be done, but she was ready, because she had learned that even the smallest acts of kindness and courage could change the world.